YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and today we're going through the prospects that could end up being surprising first round picks. We're also going to take a look at the teams that may take them in the first round. So these guys could be that shocking prospect taken on that first day in the first round. So we're going to take a look at a bunch of these guys, talk about the teams that may take them, all kinds of NFL draft content on the channel, a lot more to come, and we're going to be live April 23rd right here on YouTube for the NFL draft, predictions on the spot, instant reactions. It's going to be a lot of fun, so hopefully you can join us. Hopefully you can subscribe to both of our channels, the Goat House and the Goat House Plus, trying to reach that 50K, and that Twitter is an absolute must follow, constantly talking the NFL draft with you guys. Have some polls on there, answering any questions, all kinds of content there. You'll find a link down below in the comments section and in the description, along with the links to our podcast, 7 episodes out. Let's talk about Clyde Edwards-HELAIRE, who happens to be my number one running back in the class, unlike most people, but I think could be, I'm not predicting him to go first round, but I think he can be sneaky first round. Why? Well, because there is a little bit of buzz out there, a little bit of buzz maybe, but it's more my thinking he could be a shocking one that's still somewhat realistic, but again, not predicting it. But why? The reason running backs usually don't go in the first round, the reason always is, that they're not a factor on every play. They're not a factor in the passing game. And Clyde Edwards-HELAIRE is the best one in the class, in that category, because he's a fantastic route runner, catch the ball, and run after the catch, obviously. And he's a total package running back. You wish there was a little more downfield speed, but total package running back. So teams could be interested in having that total package guy, a guy that can be a factor in catching the ball in the backfield and downfield. So it's a possibility in teams that stand out that would take him. Well, the Dolphins have 3 picks. They're in the market for a running back. That third pick, or maybe a trade back with that third pick, is a possibility. The Buccaneers, I think, is the best fit. They're picking a little too early. It could be a trade back. They could be sitting there, and if all 4 of those top tackles are gone, they could trade back. Possibility they take Edwards-HELAIRE at the end of the first round. The Chiefs, we know they can pair somebody with Damian Williams, and they have the last pick in the first round. And the Titans, more of a deep wild card. There's not too many options for HELAIRE in the first round, so the Titans are more of the deeper wild card because Derrick Henry, is on the franchise tag, and do they want to sign him long term after this? So those are the 4 teams to look out for if Edwards-HELAIRE goes in the first round. Let's talk about a receiver, KJ Hamler. Speed is the name of the game in today's NFL, and KJ Hamler is a 4.2 guy. Really gets the separation. One of the top true slot receivers in this class. Home run ability, big play ability. So he could be a sneaky guy in the first just because everyone's trying to get that speed. Who were the fastest teams in football last year? The Chiefs and the Niners. That's who was in the Super Bowl. You see how much of speed is a factor for the Chiefs. So teams may be reaching a little bit for Hamler. And some teams that I would look out for, teams that could use a receiver and picking towards the end of the first round. Eagles have actually had a couple of visits with him. They're looking to add a speedy type receiver. Maybe they miss out on a Henry Ruggs. Maybe they want to take a Hamler. Maybe they trade back a little bit. And in the first round, they take Hamler. Patriots, I think adding him in the slot to kind of pair with N'Keal Harry for the future would be perfect. So Patriots, trying to add that speed is a possibility. We saw the Vikings lost Stephon Diggs, so they could replace him with speed of KJ Hamler. And then the Packers, who are in the market for a receiver, and quite a few, may be off the board by the time the Packers are picking there at pick 30. So they may be interested in the speed of KJ Hamler there in the end of the first round. Another receiver that could sneak up there is Chase Claypool. Mainly because you just don't see a guy like this every draft. We really have never really seen a guy like this. There's only a couple, their builds plus the athleticism in NFL history, looking at Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson, and DK Metcalf, who we saw last year and work out pretty well. And Chase Claypool, I think, is a safe pick as well because he plays in the slot, plays outside. He's a tremendous receiver on top of that. There's some talk about him playing tight end, so he can do multiple different things here, but he's a good enough receiver to stay there. So teams, once again, towards the end of the first round, I think would be interested in him. I think the Ravens would be interested. They were interested in Miles Boykin last year. Claypool's a better version out of Notre Dame of Miles Boykin from Notre Dame there. And Claypool can also play in the slot. So kind of pairing those two with obviously the number 1, Hollywood Brown. The Patriots, kind of looking for that dominant force, that contested, the dominant contested force, and that could be Claypool out of the slot, really. So the Patriots may be a team that uses him more like a slot tight end.
and they have N'Keal Harry, who's an outside, so they kind of got those built receivers there. Will be pretty dominant. And the same thing with the Seahawks. DK Metcalf's purely an outside receiver, and then you put Claypool in the slot next to him, along with Lockett. That is downright scary receiver unit. And the Packers, talked about the Packers need a receiver at the end of the first round, while a lot of those really good receivers may be gone. So they may be more interested in a Claypool than maybe who some of you might expect, that could still be a late first-round pick. So those are the teams to look out for Chase Claypool, and he definitely could be that sneaky first. People are going to love the idea of Claypool. Rare, very rare type of player in general. Next, we'll talk about a couple tackles. Isaiah Wilson, I really like this one, not because I don't think he should go first, but I kind of understand it because there's kind of a shortage on right tackles. Obviously, you have Jedrick Wills at the top. But after that, there's a real shortage. Lucas Nang from TCU would be a great one, but the injury concern, the lack of knowing how the injury is because what's going on in the world today, unfortunately. So Isaiah, I understand it. You need a right tackle badly. That's really the last piece of the puzzle for your offensive line. So you could want Isaiah Wilson. But another reason I really like it is because if he goes in the first round, which there's a lot of buzz about Isaiah Wilson at the end of the first round, I think it's going to be one of these 4 teams. I'm very confident. I would be surprised if it wasn't one of these 4 teams here. Unless somebody could always trade up. Somebody could always trade up, from the early second round that we're not kind of putting into play here. So that's a possibility as well. Maybe the Giants don't take a tackle with their early first round pick, and they trade back up. They trade back in for a Georgia player last year. Just remember that now, and DeAndre Baker. So maybe they do it for a guy like Isaiah Wilson. But I'm really looking at, those 4 teams there. That could be the Dolphins could use, 2 tackles, really. Be interesting. It's a long shot, but it'd be interesting if somehow the Dolphins ended up with Andrew Thomas and Isaiah Wilson, the left tackle in Andrew Thomas, and the right tackle of Isaiah Wilson from Georgia. Would be pretty wild. The Seahawks, I think, need a plug-and-play right tackle. I think that could be one of their bigger needs there. So they could be in the market for him. The Packers lost Brian Bulaga. Yeah, they got Rick Wagner. He's been struggling. It's a 1-year deal. Packers are usually good at kind of keeping the offensive line, fresh, and having that next guy up ready to play. They're usually good about that. And the Titans lost Conklin. They did sign Dennis Kelly, so maybe a little less of a possibility than these other teams. But Kelly was kind of replaced by Conklin, and he was a backup last year, maybe for a reason. So maybe they're looking to get that right tackle in the future. That's definitely one I would keep an eye out for there in the end of the first round. Next up, we got Ezra Cleveland, so another tackle, and this one's a left tackle. So you can see a little bit of change of teams. So the Dolphins are going to be in the market for any of these tackles. Really, they could pick him with their later first round pick, and then the Buccaneers would be a trade back most likely. We talked about a little earlier, if they missed out on the top 4 tackles, they're not going to reach for one. Let's trade back. The Browns have been linked to Ezra Cleveland. The Browns want to trade back, and I am definitely buying that they've been on the phone, discussing trades. That's definitely, I believe, true. But it's hard to believe they would just kind of come out and say, yeah, we're going to trade back for him. We're going to get Ezra Cleveland. I don't know if they actually said that. I think everyone's kind of putting that together because they met with him quite a few times, and they know they've been in trade talks, preparing for the NFL draft. So the Browns are definitely one to look out for. And the Vikings looking for that left tackle. What worked at right tackle from maybe the only spot that's worked so far is their athletic tackle and Brian O'Neill, so they can kind of go that same route for left tackle. So that the Vikings with 2 first-round picks kind of late could be a team interested. Austin Jackson, another tackle. We see the same exact team, same boat. Cleveland and Jackson I both like in the second round. I think it's a little too early. Almost think Cleveland's a little safer of a pick, honestly. But Jackson's been linked to the Dolphins mainly, but those other teams, the Buccaneers, again, if they miss out on those 4 tackles, they could be in the market to trade back to get one of these guys where they're worth the pick maybe and gain some picks. The Browns, they've been rumored to trade back, like we just said, for maybe a guy like Ezra Cleveland. Maybe it's a little bit of smoke. Maybe they're targeting somebody else, maybe like an Austin Jackson. And the Vikings, obviously, still searching for their left tackle of the future and have 2 picks at the end of the round. So you see the similar teams there. And then we go to another offense lineman. This one's a guard. So we still see the Vikings here in this conversation. They're still trying to build the offensive line. Robert Hunt played right tackle, but he's going to be a guard, prefer him at right guard. I think he's going to be a pretty good one. The Vikings cut Josh Klein, so they are looking for that guard. I think he fits their scheme, so they could be in the market for a sneaky first-round pick there late in Robert Hunt. And then the Ravens, we saw them lose Marshall Yanda. The Niners, I think they have an opening at right guard, in my opinion. They want to keep that, that offensive line kind of fresh as well. They could be a little better in pass blocking. They're fantastic run blocking. And the Seahawks I think they can use help pretty much anywhere on the offensive line. Almost anywhere. They got some guys that are ready to start, day one for them, but they need guys to help them now and guys for the future. Got to keep Russell Wilson protected. So Robert Hunt is projected guard, my second best interior offensive lineman in the class. Prefer him early second, but he could be a sneaky first round pick. Next, Neville Gallimore, who's not really getting a lot of talk about first round. Maybe really early in the process he was, but I still think he can be a sneaky first round prospect, even though no one's really talking about. Why? Because I think he fits today's idea of a nose tackle. The problem with nose tackles is they're only involved first down or short yardage. They're important, but not in on every play. Just guys that are going to stop the run pretty much. And there's a very thin amount of guys that can be involved in getting after the quarterback. Gallimore can get after the quarterback. He's a very unique nose tackle that can move around the defensive line as well. So there could be some teams, kind of dying to get this new school type nose tackle that, I don't know if it really exists. There's not really another one that exists in this class, so it might be your only opportunity. So you look at teams like the Dolphins, who I think for their defensive line, I think is missing a nose tackle because Wilkins can be the D tackle, and then Lawson's kind of going to be the D end there. So Gallimore can play nose. The Niners, same thing. Kind of can take Buckner's spot, but then give you a little bit of nose play too. So again, he can move around. I think that's a perfect situation on the inside there, kind of what they're missing. And the Jaguars need multiple defensive linemen, in my opinion. They need to replace Marcel Darius. And then the Titans lost Jarrell Casey. Wasn't really a nose tackle, but again, Gallimore could move around a bit. Titans are going to, they're in a lot of these because Titans are kind of that wild card team in the end of the first round because the same with the Niners. They're so well balanced. They don't have too many holes, so they can kind of take anybody that would just help, even if it's in a rotation. So those could be the sneaky teams for the sneaky prospects. Next up, Jordan Brooks, talked about him recently. He's getting some first-round buzz. There are several teams apparently that have him as the second best linebacker in the class. First being Isaiah Simmons, obviously, but two totally different type of linebackers there. So Brooks, teams are in on him, potentially late first. There's two that really stand out the most: the Ravens and the Packers. Both need inside linebackers in their 3-4. I think Brooks fits that perfectly. Like the idea of him in Don Martindale's scheme with the Ravens. So I would really, for Jordan Brooks, if he goes first round, I would really keep an eye on the Ravens and the Packers. The Eagles, maybe if a receiver's not there for their liking, they still need linebackers, so that's a possibility. But also, talked about I like him in Don Martindale's defense. I do feel like he's a Vic Fangio guy as well, and they're looking for that other inside linebacker to pair with A.J. Johnson. They would have to trade back, and trading back worked out so well for them last year. They may do it again and target a guy like Brooks for Vic Fangio's defense. So those are some teams to keep an eye on for Jordan Brooks, who's getting a lot of buzz about potentially being a late first-round pick. Josh Uche is getting some buzz as well. Could be sneaky late first-round pick. Another one here, a guy that you can list a whole bunch of teams because he can fit either scheme. If he's going to go to a 4-3, he's going to play outside linebacker off the ball. If he goes to a 3-4, he's still going to play an outside linebacker, but in the 3-4, it's an edge rusher. It's a pass rusher. I would prefer him as a 4-3 outside linebacker, but could play either, has upside at either. The Ravens looking for a pass rusher. The Patriots looking for kind of that utility linebacker that Kyle Van Noy and Jimmy Collins were, and that could be Uche. We talked about he's kind of a hybrid guy, so that definitely could be him. The Seahawks, I think they can, have some fun with him, kind of being both off the ball in their 4-3, but helping in their pass rush game because they definitely need more pass rush. And the Titans come up again. Titans could use another pass rusher off the edge, opposite Harold Landry. They did bring in Vic Beasley, 1-year deal though. So those are the teams for the end of the first round. For Uche, we got Damon Arnett. He's kind of getting lost in the cornerback talk because there's so many good corners, and he's right there with a lot of those guys. Physical corner, lockdown at times. He doesn't really wow, but it's because he's usually locking, receivers down. And I don't think there was a big difference in who saw, more number one receivers between Arnett and Okudah too. So Arnett's kind of become a sleeper within this really good cornerback class. So he could potentially be a first-round pick, and we see some teams we've already seen. A lot of the same teams in this because late first round pick. If these sneaky guys are going in, they're probably going to be late first round picks. And then teams that need a corner are up on the board that would be good fits. I know the Titans have done their homework on Arnett, quite a bit, so that could be an interesting spot there. But these teams, yeah, definitely could use a corner, and Arnett, like I said, kind of getting lost in that group for some reason. So we'll see where he ends up. Definitely could still be a second rounder though. Then we got Antoine Winfield Jr., who I think is the best safety in the class. Also can play, I like him at free safety, but he can be that slot corner that he's getting the Tyrann Mathieu type comparisons. Not really a true position, but does a lot for that defense. So the Cowboys, I think, would use him at free safety. The Vikings is an interesting one because they do have Anthony Harris, who could be traded. It sounds like they're working on contract extension with Anthony Harris. So if they wanted to move on from him, Winfield could be that free safety. But what I was really thinking, they keep Anthony Harris, and Winfield can be that slot corner. And the Jags should pretty much use him anywhere, slot corner, free safety. And the Titans would actually use him at slot corner, losing Logan Ryan. So those are the teams. So a pretty big range. The Cowboys could take him at 17, and that would be surprising, but it shouldn't be completely mind-blowing, So definitely a guy that for sure could be sneaky up there because he's a big-time playmaker and can play the multiple positions there. And the Tyrann Mathieu comparisons I think are pretty accurate, and that's some high praise there. And now we got another safety, Jeremy Chinn. People love the idea of Jeremy Chinn. The size, the athletic ability. He played some free safety, played a little bit of strong, played in the box, played in the slot. I thought he was best at free safety. So people saying he's a linebacker, I'd say, I don't want to disagree 100% because I think he can be a linebacker with some coaching because he has the size and, just kind of gets that feel of a new school outside linebacker. But his tape, the good moments, were pretty much at free safety there. So interesting to see if a team, and he's getting a little bit of buzz. People are trying to say he wouldn't be completely shocked if he goes late first round. I'd be pretty shocked. I'm not really seeing it, but because it's kind of out there, definitely made a place in the video here. But the Dolphins, if they feel that his build is more strong safety, if they definitely would like to fit there. Patriots, can he replace Chung for the future? And can he come up and help them in the box because they need some help up in the box for sure, losing some guys. And the Jags, the Jags could use a lot of help in the secondary, really. So he could fit multiple spots there. And then you got the Cowboys. They can bring him in, keep him at free safety in this case, play him next to Clinton Dix, unless they want Clinton Dix at free. He's another guy that's kind of played both. So we'll see what they do with that route. But just some teams that could be interested. But it's just an interesting one because apparently there's a lot of teams that are going to like him at linebacker. So which teams like him at linebacker, which teams like him at free safety, which teams think he's more built for strong safety, where do they like him? So it's a very interesting prospect. Most of these I don't really see, I don't really see exactly happening. Some of them definitely will. It's just hard to pick out which ones. Then we got one more, get a quarterback in here, Jacob Eason. Earlier in this process, actually let's backtrack even further. Let's go back to early in the college football season. We were talking about him in the top 5. We really were. He was playing lights out. You see the arm strength. You see the big playability. Season went on. Just overall went kind of downhill for Washington. Not terrible, but kind of went downhill, obviously. But then the draft process started, and we're still talking about him in the first half of the first round, and these teams are going to be interested, and all of a sudden it just died off. And what I've heard, there's actually teams that have him as a late first round prospect, and then there's teams that have him as a fourth round prospect. So a huge range. And early in this process, we actually heard that there was a team out there, unnamed team, that had him second best quarterback in the draft. So those teams exist. Where are they picking? Are they interested in even taking a quarterback? Some of those teams won't even be interested in taking a quarterback, but they still grade the quarterbacks, So it's going to be very interesting to see. I think he could sneak in a late first round. The Colts don't have a first round pick. I didn't really throw too many teams that could trade back in on this video, but I like the fit so much behind Phillip Rivers and with the Colts offensive line and system that I had to throw the Colts in there because they could trade up for a Jacob Eason or even take him early second. Patriots are apparently planning to take quarterback in this class. Where do they take one? I think it's kind of odd if they kind of take an average guy, middle rounds, because, you kind of already got a couple of those, and Stidham's going to be better than that guy. So I think it's kind of go big or go home. Dolphins would be, they need a quarterback. If they don't like Tua's health, if the Chargers take Herbert, if they can't get their hands on Love, late first, could be Eason. And then the Saints will be a wild card. I think they're looking for more of a pocket passer of the future. behind Breeze. I think Taysom Hill will continue to be a big-time football player in their system, but not the franchise quarterback. So EASON is a true pocket passer. I think a good option behind Drew Brees there. So I think those are some teams, and I think you can throw another one in here. If the Packers believe that Rodgers doesn't have super long, EASON I think would be good. The only difference is you see Rodgers. They really like rolling him out, and that's a big part of their offense. And EASON would definitely need to work on some things for that, but has the arm strength really to be a big play type of guy. So these are quite a few guys. All of them have a possibility of sneaking up in the first. Some of them will go. Let me know your guys' thoughts on how many of these guys you think will actually go and which teams they will go to. Let me know in the comments. Click that like button, and please come back to the channel when we are live for the NFL Draft right here on YouTube. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then check out that Twitter. Absolutely must follow that Twitter, I say. If you're a Goat House fan, a football fan, constant content. You can make the argument there's more content on there than on the channel. It's just kind of just in text form. And sometimes some screenshots of mock drafts, and we got polls up there as well. So you check that out. But not many days left until the NFL Draft, but I want to get to a lot of videos before it all starts. So hopefully you can subscribe, join us for all that. Cannot wait for the NFL Draft. Very excited here. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.